Greetings and salutations to all those across the fruited plain and the world over. I'm Dan Ronan, and welcome. I love movies and TV, from the days of Humphrey Bogart to where we are today. Mostly. Of all the different genres, martial arts have held a special place in my heart. My sisters and I grew up in a household and among beloved cousins that constantly indulged in Eastern legends such as Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. At the time, we didn't really know what kept us planted in front of the TV, while Bruce's fists threatened everything alive, and Jackie performed stunts that would eventually land him on the blacklist of every insurance company on Earth. In some cases, what you saw was genuine, and even sent a few actors to the ER. But whether it was risky realism, or choreography so well done it can trick your brain, kung fu movies have a way of tapping into our primal urge to open up a can of whoop ass! Of course, as with any genre of film or TV, you have the good, the bad, and the completely defies rational explanation. Which brings us to our first selection and how this is going to work. I'm more than willing to bend on how one can define, quote-unquote, martial arts flick. Basically, if it's wacky and or bad enough and has some semblance of martial arts, then it counts. The thought did occur to me as to how we should proceed. Should we slowly dip our feet into the ocean of sleazy kung fu movies, or take a dive into the deep end? I say the hell with it. Let's sink or swim with Sergeant Kabukiman, NYPD. Kabukiman is brought to us by writer, stuntman, actor, composer, editor, producer, cinematographer, director, and funny guy, Lloyd Kaufman. Much like Roger Corman, who is actually an inspiration of his, Kaufman is one of the major greats within the cult film world. He co-founded the production company Trauma Studios with his friend Michael Hertz in 1974. And since then, it's been a blur of short films and B-movies depicting science gone wrong and zaniness to make Pee Wee Herman blush. But to be fair, Kaufman does have an extensive history within film, and his initial interests even involved Broadway. He's got an interesting career, and it's worth reading about, if only to see how someone can make success out of something they truly love doing. But that is not the subject of today's roast. Nope. We are here today to examine a film brought to us by a man whose directorial efforts include titles such as Waitress, Terror Firmer, Romeo and Juliet, Make Your Own Damn Movie, Direct Your Own Damn Movie, The Battle of Love's Return, The Glass People! Wait, no, that was someone else. Poultrygeist, Night of the Living Chicken, The Toxic Avenger, The Toxic Avenger 2, and The Toxic Avenger 3, The Last Temptation of Toxie. Just to name a few. For a more extensive and hilarious list, feel free to visit his IMDb page. Honestly, guys, I'm not really sure which I'm more interested in. Kabukiman or Toxie's Last Temptation? I'm gonna say it's cheese. We kick things off with the Gotham City backdrop. No doubt a sign of the intense superhero action we're in for. Trauma team. Definitely gonna be needing one of those soon. Immediately, we see an older Kabukiman praying for just one package of Just for Men. He and his daughter are caretakers of the secret of the Kabukiman and are preparing for the coming of a great evil. They do this by chanting before a mural that looks like it came off the table of a Chinese restaurant.
As we then foretold, there would come a time when evil, corruption, and perversion would rise again, and the evil one would be able to return. That time is now.
We then go to New York, remarkably without a subway car transition, given the year this movie was made. Ah, the good old times when people could publicly snort their coke in peace. Hey, on-the-nose joke about illegal stuff while doing illegal stuff? That's lame! Well, to be fair, that's no worse than our babysitter used to treat us. Holy crap! Yeah, this quirky comedy kicks off with the murder of children! Oh, and he kills the current Kabukiman and throws his girlfriend out a window. Sucks, dude.
I'm telling you, man, with these wheels, the babes are gonna be falling all over you.
Yeah, sure. They're going to be falling in as the punchline of that stupid joke from a ladder just off camera. We're then introduced to our main hero, played by Rick Giannossi, NYPD Detective Harry Griswold, a guy who spends more time delivering soliloquies than he does conducting actual detective work. On this night, he decides against meeting up with his almost sort of not girlfriend in favor of going to a random kabuki performance. Sure. It's there that an over-the-top accent is interviewing the show's sponsor, played by Bill Wheaton.
New York billionaire businessman and philanthropist. Good evening, Mr. Stewart.
Good evening, Brian. It's a great pleasure to be with you tonight. At the Stewart Pandex Corporation, we believe that corporate funding is the best way to bring culture to the masses. The reason we've sponsored this particular kabuki performance is that I myself have been personally interested for a long time in the work of Mr. Sato and his family.
You can tell I mean well by my sunken eyes and mad scientist hair. While Griswold and the crowd settle in, the backstage superhero troupe gets warmed up. As per his granddaughter's cult-like instructions, Grandpa Kabuki partakes in... Well, his makeup is pretty good, but his Klingon cuisine needs work. We don't get long into the performance before Machete from earlier whips out a machine gun and begins firing wildly into the cast. And what a wonderful audience we have here tonight. So stupid, they think people getting murdered is not only part of the performance, but is also hilarious.
Everybody freeze! Police!
He shot at the wrong guy! He means business!
The audience finally registers that people are being brutally murdered and erupt in a mindless panic. Griswold attempts to aid the dying Grandpa Kabuki, but quickly finds out no good deed goes unmolested.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, lock the...
With the theater emptied faster than you can say Bruckheimer Productions, both the assassins and Griswold retire for the evening. Wow, we knew Griswold shared an apartment with Sean Penn. Griswold silently broods about what a cliched character he is, while the bad guys gather in a dark bad guys sit in here room, and we see that the billionaire who financed the performance is actually, better sit down for this, a bad guy. You see, he's in cahoots with the Reverend Snipes, a guy who most likely has more on his rap sheet than tax evasion. They go back and forth with some really tired 3 o'clock mafia banter when a mullet and a pair of glasses storms in demanding some answers.
I thought we had an agreement here. I thought we had a relationship. I was gonna take the rap for that shit at the theater. You were gonna get me off and make me a vice president with a corner office. No jail, no conviction, nothing. Just a couple of mug shots and a statement, and that's it.
How was he going to avoid serving any serious jail time, be released the next day, and acquire that big shiny corner office after accepting responsibility for a multiple homicide that occurred in front of dozens of witnesses? With the young lad's work done, Stewart thanks his nephew in the only way a warm-hearted uncle can. The next morning, Griswold reports for duty in possibly the second wackiest police station since Police Squad.
All right.
For real, what is up with this room? Is Frank Drebin's office right down the hall? The saloon from the Lego movie had more order to it. He sits down to talk to his angry chief, because of course he's grumpy. The Harry Griswold character package comes fully loaded with the recycled NYPD backstory. We have alcohol abuse, a disheveled appearance, and an old captain who's always angry. Buy now and receive 2 for the price of 1 Law and Order. It's also here that we meet Griswold's fellow officer and sorta, but not really, girlfriend, Connie, played by Pamela Alster. He's predictably awkward and stupid around her, while she's predictably abrasive and caustic. So, typical 90s fare all around.
You want to join me?
No, running.
I'll be wearing my new spandex jogging shorts.
She has some information for him, but for some reason won't divulge it unless he joins her for a jog through the park. Odd terms, admittedly, but with a single look at Connie's spandex-clad butt, he decides that's perfectly reasonable. But just as Connie finishes her exposition dump, Rembrandt's band of merry men kidnap and attempt to rape her in broad daylight, and what? Griswold springs into action and undergoes a transformation to make Sailor Moon's jaw hang open. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, I present to you Kabukiman! Feast your eyes. I can't promise you won't gain chorophobia from the mere sight of this guy, so continue at your own risk. For the uninitiated, the best way to describe this performance is to picture the absolute silliest cartoon you have ever seen, and then imagine it being hilarious in pretty much every wrong way. God, the sounds this guy makes. He comes off as someone who must have several active restraining orders out against him. And now that he's transformed into the mythical Kabukiman, he handedly trounces every single one of them. Nah, really, he leaves only a few traumatized survivors to tell the tale. When the rest of the ever-vigilant NYPD arrives, they understandably mistake him for a crazy Pennywise hobo until Griswold shows them his badge.
Holy shit! It is Griswold!
Huh. They took that pretty well. Meanwhile, the League of Extraordinary Hairstyles gather at the Villa Evil, also known as City Hall, and they discuss their plans.
I know this cop Griswold has been suspended, but I've dealt with his type many, many times before. He will never, never leave us alone. Griswold must be eliminated. Everyone associated with Griswold must be eliminated. Then, and only then, will everything be in order. Only then.
Yep. There you have it. Was there ever a doubt that that guy was evil? With hair like that, he's either going to invent time travel or seek out the Armageddon spell. Look at him just kicking back in that chair. He looks like Don Corleone made out with a wall socket. Griswold meets back up with Lotus, having interrogated her earlier, then offered the Kabuki secret family recipe, and getting an earful of her own unique flavor of madness. So Griswold finally indulges Lotus's crazy talk and goes over to her house to train. He finds her in some sort of Zen trance, and then he instantly regrets waking her up from it.
What the hell did you do that for?
To get your attention.
Now that Mistress has your attention, say her name! He finally completes his training, and I'm using the term loosely, having mastered 90s goofiness and camera mugging. He settles down for a quiet evening with Lotus.
The Empire State Building. There's enough here to put him and Stuart away for life.
That is wonderful. You have done so well in such a short time. The evil one must be fearful of you.
It's only because of you. Without you around, my powers are useless.
Ha! Sure, because if it's one thing that totally gets a woman revved up, it's getting decked out like a Japanese Ronald McDonald. And whatever dark corner of the internet that fetish is lurking in, you just stay there. Alright, let's wrap this up. After he's rested, Griswold goes to confront Bad Guy, only to find they've kidnapped the used-to-be-tough Lotus and plan to sacrifice her to the Evil One by feeding her to a tiger.
Logical.
But the sacrifice fails. However, that doesn't stop Bad Guy from assuming his ultimate form. Okay. I just want to pause here for a second. For all you fans of Guyver, Roger Corman, or other movie monster schlock, this should be nothing. For the uninitiated, however, Prepare yourselves. Ready? No? Too bad!
My time has come!
Oh yes, just let it sink in. It's like one instantly has so many words that they become no words. If this isn't one of the most jaw-droppingly stupid things your nightmares have worked up, then I really don't want to know what keeps you up at night. So Kabukiman initiates the prophecy, defeating the Zoonoid King, and his victory is lit up in the sky a la Eat at Joe's. The city greets their newest hero, and the NYPD collectively stare at their badges in abject shame. And that, my lovelies, is Sergeant Kabukiman. What'd you think? No, seriously, what'd you think? I'm not really sure what else you can say about it. I mean, it's so overtly silly that you almost have no business calling it out for being silly. I mean, just look at the freaking title. You don't have an excuse. Also, this was made during a time when people did not put a whole lot of thought into their superhero flicks. Even the high-profile ones. I mean, it's bad, sure, but it's having so much fun being bad that you kind of find yourself going along for the ride. And it's got a few legitimately funny moments. If you're feeling adventurous, give it a watch and make sure you and your friends are properly drunk. And that's a wrap on my first review. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Everybody was kung fu